What is up everyone on YouTube, and today we have another AFK journey video for you guys today. And today we're going to be talking all about free-to-play team building. So this is my account. Currently I am at AFK stage 239. I probably could go up to like 250, 255-ish if I actually went through it right now, but I just logged on today. And this is how far I've gotten. I am completely free-to-play. Honestly, I think I missed like 1 or 2 days. But for a game like AFK Journey, I feel like you don't have to really min-max too much because it's not really a race. It's more like a marathon. And we're just going to be talking about how you guys should actually be building your team comps for free to play. Now, if you guys are spending a lot of money, obviously you have access to a lot more units, so you're way more flexible. But we're going to be talking about, in general, how you want to team build, and for free to play players, the best options for you. So as you guys know, when you're team building, you actually have factions, right? So you have light bearers, you have like maulers here, you have the graveborn, you even have the wilder. And of course, you also have the rare celestial or Rapagian, which will actually act as every faction. And basically, how these factions work is that there is a system. You can see at the bottom here. Graveborn beat light bearers, right? Green beats blue. Light bearers or blue will beat maulers, which are orange, and then orange will be green, which are wilders. And you do extra 15% damage to factions weak to you, and you take 15% less damage if they are weak to you as well. Now, besides that, factions play a huge role in building your team. If you look above, faction bonus, you're going to see that when there are 3 plus 2, so that's going to include 2 separate factions, or 4 or 5 from the same faction in your team, you will get bonus attack and HP scaling all the way up to 22%. If you have Celestial or Hypogean, they will actually give your units an extra 1% attack and HP while counting for any single faction, right? So for example here, if I put in 3 light bears, right, I put in Rowan, don't mind my placement, I put in Lucius, and I put in her as well. I forgot her name, Merrily, right? You'll see that I activate the 3 faction bonus, and I get 10% extra attack and health. If I add in 2 wilder units, like Laika here, and also Huan, you'll see I'll get the 3 plus 2, right? I have 3 light bears and 2 wilders, right? So if I take out one of the wilders, and I put in another light bear like Vala, you'll see this will actually change to the 4. So you can see this is the way how you actually progress. The way you get the most statistics is actually going to be from putting 5 of the same faction, which is going to give you the max bonus, stacking all the way up to 22% for attack and health. Now, while you definitely want to reach these faction bonuses, I highly recommend going for at least 3 plus 2, so you actually get 14% attack and HP. You want to make sure you don't actually gimp your team, and what I mean by that is, like this team comp here, I only actually have 1 frontline unit in Lucius here, this guy in the front, this tank. All my other 4 units are squishy damage dealers or supports. So because of this team comp, even though I get the 5 faction bonus, is not that great. And you might not actually have access, especially as a free-to-play player, to another frontline light bearer unit, which is the faction that I'm 5 stacked right now, right? So because of that, you might want to drop like Walker here, which is a damage dealer, and then actually put in another frontline hero. So you might want to put in something like Thorin, who's a really broken tank here. One of the best tanks, if not the best tank in the game for story mode. And just because you break this 5 faction drop to 4, it doesn't mean your team comp is bad. Sure, there can be some adjustments made later once you pull for more heroes. But for now, this is really good, right? A lot of the heroes here that are very powerful, they're not going to be from all the same faction. So it's really up to you to mix and aim to actually get the goals that you need, balancing your faction bonuses with a good team composition. Now, enough about the faction bonuses. Let's actually talk about how you want to build your first team composition. Now, the best way to actually build your team comp is going to be around your best damage dealer. So currently in the game, Cessia is the best damage dealer for story, especially at this point in the game where it's only been about a week or 2 since release. And that is because of her ultimate. She summoned Mr. Carlisle to battle, which is basically a free tank that does AoE roots, does a ton of damage, and also has a ton of health. Cessia herself also does pretty decent damage with her Earth's Offering. She gives herself attack speed and Mr. Carlisle, which will make it so that she can actually cycle her ult even faster. She can heal up Mr. Carlisle by using this again, and her normal attacks do extra damage every few attacks, so she's a pretty strong damage dealer with the capabilities of summoning another unit to your field essentially, which makes her super strong. Now, if you don't actually have Cessia, because she's not running on a banner and she actually has to be pulled for, then you can actually use Odie or Audi. I don't know how to pronounce him, but he's very, very strong as a damage dealer, especially once you rank him up, because he does poison damage over time, which is insanely strong, especially in single target. And he also does a triple shot normal attack, and his normal attacks do extra damage. So basically, he's just a single target monster that does ramp damage, which is insane. So he's another great unit to build around for your first team comp, because both of these units actually will scale extremely well into the late game. They're still the best late game units. Audi is pretty good for single target in PvE, and also he's very good in PvP, one of the best damage dealers there. So he's definitely a good choice. Now, until you get those two units, you can use something like Valen. He's still pretty decent, honestly. Not the safest though, because he is melee. But there's a ton of other choices you can go for. There is a tier list on Pridewin, which I'll put in my link down below, which you can check out to see some other damage dealers that are good for this comp. Now, after you decide on your damage dealer you're using, let's say I'm using such as something like Audi here as my main damage dealer. If I switch him around, let's just pretend I'm using and building around him. You also want to pick a support. So there are going to be the two main supports that are going to be very, very good. Actually, kind of like three. The first one is going to be Smokey. Very powerful Mauler support because he actually gives everyone attack and also energy, which is insanely powerful. He also does pretty decent healing as well. You have someone also like Rowan, who I actually have multiple copies of. He's legendary. He is one of the best healers as well because he also provides allies with energy. They kind of do the same thing, except that Rowan requires a little bit more ramp time. And you also have another unit such as like Ewan. So they're all separate factions here, and she's very good because of her ability to just raw heal. Her healing capability is insane. She also dispels. She does the highest raw healing. Now, if you don't have any of these units, you can also use 4-star options. Faye is fine for the early game. She does healing as well. Basically all she does, she's a worse human. And you can also use someone known as Coco. Now, Coco is very weird in how she works because she requires quite some time to ramp up, but she actually gives everyone a damage reduction and stats boost, which is insane. You do more damage. And she also has decent healing as well and does decent damage for a support unit as well. So you definitely want to choose one of these. For example, if I'm running Audi here, I probably would want to run something like a Smokey. This would be a good team comp. And these two will be the makeup of my core. After choosing your damage dealer and supports, it's time to choose your 2 frontline heroes. So this also comes down to what you have, but after you choose your damage dealer and your support, you can kind of see what kind of faction bonus you should be going for. For example, here with this team composition, I actually can use this A tier unit, Antandra, which is going to be a Mauler tank. She fits right in with this faction. She's very, very powerful, right? And because of that, I can just slot her in and I have my damage dealer, my support, and my tank. Those are the 3 required roles that you need for any single team comp in the game, essentially, for like 99% of content. So because of that, she can fit right in with this team comp. She has a ton of survivability. She heals herself. She can shield an ally. She's very powerful, and she actually reduces AoE damage by, you know, just cleaving and putting this target attack down debuff. So she's very, very powerful, and this will fill up your 3 main spots that you need. Now, ideally, you do want another frontline. It's really up to what you have on your account. Like I mentioned, I have Thorin, who's really good, so I can slot him in. And because of this, this becomes my 4-unit team, which is going to feature a damage dealer, a support, and 2 tanks, which is pretty much all you need. Now, of course, you can swap her out for another warrior. If you want to push for more Mauler synergy, you can go for Brutus, and that works as well. Really up to you and what you have, and if you want more damage here, Brutus is better. If you want more tankiness, then Thorin will be better for you. Again, if you look at the tier list in Pridewin, it goes over the best tanks, but in general, really good tanks to use that you can slot into any team comp. It'll be something like Thorin. He's number 1 best tank because he has a revive when he actually dies. He also is very good because of that, and he also has this insane like damage capability, right? You can see this passive here. Thorin can revive himself once after being killed, and he also drains health, which is very nice. Another good option is going to be Granny Danny. Very strong because she has an AoE mobilize. She also heals and reduces energy, which is super, super annoying against melee heavy teams. So she becomes very, very strong. She also has a taunt. Another good option for free-to-play units will be Lucius. Lucius is a light bearer, and he's very good because he actually shields everyone, and he also will actually give heals to everyone while also giving them a shield. So he's very good, especially in Dream Realm and also Arcane Labyrinth, especially because you can actually get a lot of the relics that will buff shields, and he becomes very, very strong there. But yeah, really up to you. I think in this case, because my team comp already has 3 Maulers and I have a very good Mauler frontline unit, right, who doesn't need to be the main tank because I already have a tank, right? You only need at least 1 tank. I highly recommend going 1 tank or 2 tanks depending on your comp, but you want definitely 1 at the very least. Brutus fits here as well. Now for the last comp, it's really up to you. This is usually a flex. It's really up to you and your account what you have. For example, for my comp here, I can run something like a Vala. Vala is very good at assassinating backline characters. So if you actually fight in PvP or even story mode against a hard-hitting damage dealer, such as like, you know, like an Audi or something on the enemy side, or even something like a Human that heals a lot and is very annoying, I can position my Vala to kind of just, you know, jump onto them, which makes it very good. You can also swap her out for another support unit, right? So if you want your Odie to do more damage because he has your best gear and also is just the highest level, Coco is actually very good. You can run double support with Audi because he does a ton of damage, and she actually buffs his damage as well, while making your team decently tanky. She's very good here because I am running Brutus, who isn't a tank, he's a warrior, so even though he's very tanky, he also does a ton of damage as well and reduces physical defense. So you can kind of see this team synergizes very well together. Actually, this Mauler team is one of the best teams in the game, so if you have access to all these units, you can find a lot of success this way. But yeah, this is just an example of one team. Let's say, you know, you pull Cessia, right? You get lucky and you pull Cessia here. How do you actually build around Cessia? So with Cessia, she is Graveborn, so ideally you do want Thorin, but not everyone has access to Thorin. So we'll just say that, you know, for now, you have Thorin on your team. Afterwards, you want to support. The thing with Graveborns is their supports are pretty awful. So for the most part, you're going to have to dip into another faction for sure. You'll never really run 5 Graveborn comps. At most, you'll run 4, but most likely you'll be running 3+2 or 2+3, like 2 Graveborns and 3 of another. And a great way to actually bridge into the 3+2 is going to be with Light Bearers. The Light Bearers are pretty much jacks of all trades. They don't really have any super strengths or like super weaknesses. They're just kind of neutral, but they're still very good. So a good, you know, team to run with Cessia could be like a Lucius. So this is actually my main story team. I run Lucius with Cessia because Lucius can actually shield the Mr. Carlisle ulti, which is very strong. And because of this, you'll see like this team comp formed this way. And then afterwards, if I need another healer, right, maybe I'll put in something like a Rowan if I pulled for him, right? If I got Rowan, then I can swap him in here. If not, I can run something like another healer, such as like Faye, right? And Faye can be fine as well. You'll see I see 2+2 here, and then you're gonna want to finish this out with another Light Bearer or another Gravelord. I think I've been saying Lightborn, but it's Light Bearer. But anyways, so you know, for example, here this team comp pretty safe, healing, a lot of tankiness, right? Another damage dealer work fine here. So any Graveborn or Light Bearer damage dealer that you have leveled up is pretty decent. For example, I can run something like her. I think her name is Merrily, right? She does a ton of damage, mostly used for PvP and Dream Realm, but you can still slot her in. Something like Vala would work here as well, and she's very powerful. If you don't have Vala yet, you can use something like a Rowan, and then while you're pulling on Vala's banner, who's currently running, who's very powerful right now for story, then you can eventually replace your Rowan. Alongside that, you know, once you finally pull Rowan here, then you can eventually replace your Valen here with your Vala. Valen, Vala. There's a lot of similar names in this game. And alongside that, same thing with Faye. Once you actually pull for Rowan, you can replace your Faye with Rowan, and then here you go, 3+2 team comp, pretty solid. This is the team comp I use currently because I have the most success with it, and Vala is very good for sniping out enemies. Let's just do another one really quick. Say you want to build around, you know, a different DPS unit. Say you don't have a lot of units and you have Leica, the free-to-play unit. Then sure, you can slot her in. Just make sure you slot her in with another tank. For example, here, let's say I have Lucius here. Lucius is very good. I'll have him as my tank. Alongside that, you can branch into Wilder or Light Bearer, not Lightborn. And maybe for free to play, I want like Faye as a healer, right? This is what I'm going for. And then super early game, I can go, what's his name, Valen as well. This gives me 3 Light Bearers, and then here I can fit in another Light Bearer to get 4 bonus, or another Wilder, depending on what I have for the 3+2, and my team comp will be good. So you might actually want to replace her with, you know, Pariza, for example. Just be aware, it's actually not a good pick, and that is because if you look at Leica's skills, she does enemy physical damage or defense down. So you want to pick a physical attack damage dealer. So you can see she's physical, and Pariza is magic. So it's another thing you have to factor in. Because of that, even though your other units, you know, will be doing more damage, and honestly, I think Valen is also going to be physical, right? And also is Lucius. They're also going to be hitting a lot, right? Physical damage, you get value. Kind of want to synergize it more, so you probably want to switch her out for another physical damage dealer. So for example here, Khafra, who's not that great, is okay because he does do actually another physical defense down, and he gets a buff when he kills a unit, and he also stuns a lot of units and lines them up for Leica, so he's a good choice. So this could be another free-to-play option if you have absolutely no S tiers, which is probably not going to happen because, one, you get one for free, and I do believe Rowan is on the list of the free ones, so you can always have him once you start playing the game and do something like this. And then as you pull more in this game, you'll eventually get a lot of the S tiers because you get them from the arena shop, the guild shop, and stuff like that. This is like a bare bones based team comp that you can run. Now, of course, there's tons of team comps you can run. I showed you just a few. Really up to you to mix and choose depending on what team is available to you with the units you have. For me personally, like I mentioned, I think Cessian ones are going to be the best ones, most flexible, and you'll just find the most success with it most likely, especially in the early game, because her ultimate is insane for extra tanking. Ball is also pretty good for sniping out enemies, which makes it very valuable. And I think Rowan is going to be one of the best early game healers. So because of that, you kind of want to just build around, those 3 units if you get access to them. And obviously upgrade your tanks as you go. For example, I upgraded my Vaughn here with my Thorin here. So you can see this is what my team comp turned out to. And bam, I have 3+2, pretty well-rounded comp. Sure, they struggle with damage sometimes against very tanky comps, but if that happens, I can switch out to my Mauler comp, and I'll be pretty much good to go. Pretty much it for this video though, guys. If you guys want to see more videos on AFK Journey, let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.